If the Denver Broncos want to start 2-0 for the first time since 2021 and go into Indianapolis and beat a significantly improved Colts team, arguably the person who needs to step up the most week over week is actually, in my opinion, head coach Sean Payton. I thought Sean Payton had a misstep in 3 different occasions that all could have cost the Denver Broncos a week 1 victory over the Tennessee Titans. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But before we do, I got to take 10 seconds. Thank you guys so much for being here. Yesterday, we passed 500 subscribers on this channel. I just started doing videos regularly 9 days ago, and I'm just so excited. I'm having so much fun doing these videos. So please tell a friend. You guys watching right now, whoever's watching this right now, you guys are the foundation of what this channel will ultimately become. And what I hope is that a year, 2, 3 years from now, I see one of you guys out and you say, man, I was one of your first 500 subscribers. I was one of your first 1,000 subscribers. It just means a lot to me. So back to the Broncos. Sean Payton has got to get better week over week. He has got to, okay? And the 3 missteps that could have cost the Broncos, let's start with the first being the imbalanced nature of the offense. If you watch week one was hard to watch. It was frustrating. It was disjointed. It was clunky, okay? And I think a part of that has to do with the imbalanced nature. It was so pass heavy. Again, this is who Sean Payton was a year ago when he had his rookie quarterback attempt the 6th most passes in the entire NFL last year, okay? Not healthy. But you can say, man, they were so down from a personnel standpoint in the run game that Sean had to. Sean didn't trust the running backs. Sean had to lean on Bo Nix in an unhealthy way, in a way that he didn't want to, but he had to. Okay, you can sort of talk yourself into that. But then the offseason comes and they add to the position group with the likes of J.K. Dobbins coming off over 900 yards, okay, and missed a quarter of the season. And then you use a premium draft pick on R.J. Harvey. So the positional group should be as good or talented as it's been in a few years. And the nonstop mantra from Sean Payton through the offseason was, we're going to be more balanced. I asked him about it several times in training camp, and he always said the right things. So I was super encouraged and optimistic going into week 1 in how the balance of the offense was going to look. Because if the Broncos are going to get to the place that Sean Payton talks about them getting to, you need to be a more multiple and democratic offensively. You just can't pass every time. It's a passing league, but the best teams in this sport still run the football effectively. Look at the Ravens, look at the Bills, look at the world champion Eagles. They all can run it, and they can run it when you know they're going to run it, and they're going to run it effectively anyway. That's the hope that the Broncos are trying to get to, right? So how did the game start? Pass, pass, run, pass, 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 pass. I mean, you can't make it up. That's the first possession of the football game. 8 of 9 of the first plays of the game were passes, okay? And it's a little bit troubling because you can sort of talk me into later in the game getting away from you, or maybe when you're down and you just start, overpassing the football. I can understand that. But when that's how you come out, okay, I sat across an NFL player for every weekday for the last decade, and the amount of times that I've heard about the first 15, the script that they go over the night before, that first series is pre-planned. So for Sean to come out like that, I just thought it was he can't help himself. He can't. He's a former quarterback. He sees the game through the eyes of a quarterback, but he's got to be better. All right, 8 of the 9 first plays were passes. Even go into the second series, 14 of the first 17 plays for the Broncos in week 1 were passes. That is not sustainable, okay? So that's got to get better. The second misstep in the football game in week 1, I thought, was the end of the first half. There was 16 seconds left in the half, and the Broncos have a lead. What do? Kick the ball out of the end zone, okay? They're going to get it. They're going to nail it, okay? There's 16 seconds left. Instead, the Broncos put the ball in play, and the Titans have a 70-yard return, and they end up hanging points on the board where there's a very, very unrealistic scenario that they were going to hang points on the board had they kicked it out of the end zone. So I think it's not the end of the world, but you can learn from that, okay? And I think that lesson should be applied immediately into week 2. But the third thing, and this was for me the most troubling, even more than the imbalanced nature of the run pass, definitely more than the end of the half misstep, I would say, is the decision at the end of the football game on fourth and long with about a minute left, okay? With about a minute left, all right? The Broncos and Sean Payton made a decision. There's really only two choices that you can make in that spot. You have an 8-point lead. It is still a one-possession football game. You have two choices. You can kick a field goal, which would have been a 53-yard field goal in altitude. Like, are you kidding me? It's 2025. These guys are so freaking accurate and talented these days. In my opinion, it should be a no-brainer. You kick the field goal. You make it a two-possession game, right? You have Will Lutz coming off maybe his best year ever. It's a 53-yarder. His career long is a 58-yarder, not in altitude, okay? So this is about 15 feet shorter than his career long in altitude in the middle of a nice summer day, right? And I just, okay, so that's one option. The second option, and for me the less favorable option, is to punt it. Your defense had been a boa constrictor throughout the afternoon, absolutely smothering the Titans. 133 total yards allowed, least in the entire NFL. I mean, just insane. And to have that yardage amount given up with less than 50% completion percentage, it was the first time the Broncos put up those numbers in a game since Super Bowl 50. All right. So you could have done a short little punt, pin him inside the 15 or the 10-yard line, maybe even the 5. Who knows? Because Crawshaw was having a great day. And you let your defense finish the game. Instead, Sean Payton chooses option 3, the psychotic option, on 4th and 8, not 4th and 1, not 4th and 2, 4th and 3, on 4th and long to pass the football. This, guys, Sean Payton, I just want to say this, he's forgotten more football than I will ever know. But that doesn't mean every single button he pushes on a game day is the right one. This was unequivocally the wrong football decision, just on face value. I mean, there's media members around the country dropping F-bombs. I saw Warren Sharp say, what the F is Sean Payton doing? I've never seen a decision like that to finish a game, okay? And the fact that it was incomplete, the Titans get the football back, and it's only because the wide receivers can't catch the football that didn't become a scarier scenario down the stretch. Insane decision from Sean Payton, okay? And the decision to pass it on 4th and 8, right on its face, as I just said, doesn't make sense. But it's especially when you add in the context and the fabric of the football game. The Broncos' passing offense was the worst in the NFL on Sunday. Bo Nix graded out as the single worst quarterback in the NFL on Sunday. So why would you lean on something in that critical moment that had been dog water for the last 3.5 hours? It furthers the point that it doesn't make any sort of sense, okay? And you have an opportunity to make a football game 2 possessions, okay? Go from 8 to 9, 10, 11. It doesn't matter in that moment with a minute left. If 2 possessions is 2 possessions. It doesn't matter if you go up by 11 or go up by 15. It doesn't matter. The game's over, okay? Sean Payton said after the game that he was scared that the kick was going to get blocked and go back for a scoop and score. Holy smokes. The decision is bad enough, but the explanation of like, wait, what? And you could say, well, it happened in Kansas City. No, it didn't. It wasn't a scoop and score. It was a block kick. A block kick to lose a football game for sure. But between extra points and field goals, Will Lutz last year attempted 80 kicks. Not a single one went back for a scoop and score. Neither did any the previous year. So we're letting a potential block kick and scoop and score be the explanation for why you made a ridiculous football decision. I will at this point speculate, after we have now the understanding that it was just not the right decision to make, why would Sean Payton do that? I would speculate to say that when you shot call and say Bo Nix is trending to be a top 5 quarterback, and then you put a timestamp on it and say in the next 2 years, and he has one of the worst days in the entire NFL, you then let agenda come into play. And again, I'm speculating, but I think fairly so. Or you're just the play caller, and you're walking in the play caller's shoes, and you've had a very frustrating day offensively, and you are stepping out of your head coaching role. Because if Sean Payton was just the head coach and someone else was calling plays, there's no way he's green-lighting going for it on 4th and 8 with a one-possession game with a minute left. It doesn't make any sense. So I really didn't like that because, again, it was agenda over the football team. Over 50 guys busted their ass for 3 hours, and 70,000 people bought a ticket and were sitting in that stadium hoping for a Broncos win, and you were right there and you played with the game. I really, really didn't like the finish to that football game. The good news is it was week 1. The Broncos did get a win, but that doesn't mean there's not something to be learned just because the Broncos won, because there are learning lessons all over that football game. And the biggest lesson that I believe needs to be learned is from Sean Payton. He's got to get better. But you can't get better at something if you don't think that you made a mistake. And I think that his reluctance to admit that he made a mistake was unto itself a mistake. So he's got to get better. Hopefully in his heart of hearts, he knows that. And my assumption is that he will in time for week 2 against Indianapolis. Guys, thanks so much for being here. I humbly ask you, subscribe to my channel, like this video, leave a comment. I love to interact with you in the comments. Thank you guys for being here so much. I'm having so much fun doing these videos, and you'll see more from me tomorrow.